Hey guys, Gio here from Apocaflix Movies. It's officially Zack Snyder's Justice League week, so to help celebrate, let's take a look back on how this whole thing begun. The road to Zack Snyder's Justice League. And for me, it really begins with the release of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. On March 25th, 2016, the movie opened and grossed a worldwide total of 874 million, with 400 million worldwide opening weekend. Impressive, but unfortunately, the poor reviews did not help the movie at all. The movie was viewed to have very short legs compared to some other blockbusters, and unfortunately, this is where Warner Brothers really began to distrust Zack Snyder, and the fact that they handed him the keys to the DCEU, the poor reception. But nevertheless, at this point, Zack Snyder was already deep into pre-production for Justice League, and 2 months after the release of Batman v Superman, Justice League principal photography begins. Now, in the years since, up until about last month, we've gotten news about some of the questions we've had back at then, like how much leeway did Zack Snyder have after the critical reception of Batman v Superman. And we learned that Warner Brothers assigned producer Jeff Johns and producer John Berg as their watchdogs on the Justice League set. And they were kind of the middleman between the studio, with giving constant notes and, recommending same-day rewrites, and also the infamous 2-hour studio mandate, where Zack Snyder had a completed script of the film, began production on the movie, but then all of a sudden is given this 2-hour mandate by Warner Brothers. For whatever reason, can go into that, but we're not going to do that here. So, April 2016, Zack Snyder starts principal photography, has watchdogs on set on a very short lease, and somehow he was able to finish production in December 2016. Snyder wraps principal photography. So this is not news here, really. This is not really brand new news. Zack Snyder did get to finish principal photography, but unfortunately suffered a tragic loss with the death of his daughter, Autumn Snyder, excuse me. And in May 2017, he had to leave the project. And this is where Joss Whedon takes over as director and does 2 months of reshoots reportedly. And from my notes, what I'm reading here, it was about 80 pages of rewrites. So, all right. So, initially, we thought that Joss Whedon was brought on because he was going to do a Batgirl movie, which that part is true. But it's believed now that Jeff Johns really wanted Joss Whedon to be involved. I mean, here's a guy coming off of 2 Avengers movies. Successful Avengers movies. It makes all the sense in the world to have him on board in some capacity for this Justice League movie. I mean, if you're not gonna trust Zack Snyder all the way and you want your movies to kind of go in a different direction, he would be the guy, right? The additional reshoots added $25 million to the budget, bringing it up to $300 million. On top of that, remember, May 2017, Joss Whedon comes on board. The movie releases November 2017. For whatever reason, Warner Brothers refused to push back the release in favor of receiving their final annual bonuses, because this is the time where AT&T was purchasing Time Warner. So the two companies were going to merge. This will be the last year before that happens. So November 2017, Justice League releases and grosses $650 million worldwide on a $300 million budget. It was a critical failure and a box office failure. There's no other way around it. Regardless of how I feel, how you feel, the movie was a complete failure. Yet Zack Snyder received sole director's credit, and Joss Whedon and Chris Terrio shared writing credit. Now, when you watch the 2017 movie, um, you could see where Snyder and his, skills as a director are. It's clear as there. But as a fan of Zack Snyder, who's been following his movies, I mean, there is no way that that movie is his. I don't care what you tell me. And in a couple of days, we're going to be able to watch his version of Justice League. And for those of you who've seen the movie, can compare and state your opinions on that. So, some questions have been asked over a couple of years. How much footage in Justice League was actually Zack Snyder's? That depends on who you ask. Producer Charles Roven at the time said 80 to 85% of the movie is what was originally shot. Zack Snyder says he estimates a quarter of his material was used in the theatrical version based on what he's been told. Remember, Christopher Nolan and Deborah Snyder sat down to watch the 2017 movie privately and went to Zack Snyder and told him to never watch it. So that's why he was estimating from what he's heard. Cinematographer Fabian Wagner says about 10% of the original footage was used in the final cut. So depending on who you ask, you're going to get different answers. But from what it sounds like, from what I've seen and what I've been told, it sounds like it's somewhere between 10 and 25% of the 2017 film was actually Zack Snyder's footage. Well, so Justice League releases November 17th, 2017. 4 days later, the first reported hashtag release the Snyder Cut is on Twitter, and that is credited to @MoviesThatMayher. And that started a whole campaign of movement that we now know what it has, accomplished, both for charity, the AFSP, and for getting Zack Snyder to release his cut of the movie. So in the 2.5 years of the Release the Snyder Cut movement, there have been numerous amounts of campaigns and achievements. We're talking about online petitions, letters, advertising campaigns, bus stop ads, billboards at San Diego Comic-Con, billboards in Times Square during New York Comic-Con, flying banners over Warner Brothers Studios lot, ad space on digital banners wrapped around stadiums, the interior soccer stadiums, and then Subway and Wendy's joining in on the fun and donating food, with the number of tweets for the campaign, the shared campaign. And on November 17th, 2019, the Release of Snyder Cut trended worldwide with over 1 million tweets. This was D-Day for the movement, where hundreds of thousands, million fans on Twitter gathered and hashtag Release the Snyder Cut. It was a beautiful thing to watch, especially when you see that Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, the cast and crew started really getting involved. And the next day after that, November 17th, 2019, Release the Snyder Cut campaign, on the 2-year anniversary, the next day, finally, Warner Brothers chairman Toby Emmerich reached out to the Snyder's agent, Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder's agent, and acknowledged the movement and asked them, would you be willing to come back? Would you be willing to do something? So 2.5 years of fan campaign, effort, energy, time, sweat, stress. Remember, these 2.5 years weren't all sunshine and rainbows, okay? All right, it's just for every time they gathered and shared their hope, their optimism, there was always people online who told them to give up, to stop what they're doing, stop being so toxic, stop being so entitled, this and that. But they never gave up. And what they accomplished for both AFSP, the charity aspect, and pushing to get this movie to be seen by the whole world, which we will in 3 days as of this recording, can never be taken away. That accomplishment can never be taken away. And on February 20th, 2020, Warner Media decided to finally move forward with the Snyder Cut after some back and forth negotiation on how exactly they're going to do this thing. Remember, the day after the 2-year anniversary in November 2019, they finally made the call, Zack Snyder, let's talk. And all the way up until February 2020, the negotiations were finally complete. A couple months later, in May of last year, Zack Snyder announces the Snyder Cut for HBO Max in 2021, a day that myself and fans will forever remember. I still go back and rewatch it sometimes because it's finally a dream come true for us who've been wanting to see Zack Snyder's Justice League. And in October 2020, last year, a couple months after the announcement, additional photography took place for one scene. And cast members like Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, Amber Heard, Henry Cavill, Joe Manganiello, Ezra Miller, Jared Leto all took part in this additional photography. About 4 to 5 minutes of additional footage from what Snyder has told us, both Zach and Deborah. Furthermore, another thing you can expect is Junkie XL, the original composer for Justice League, returned. Remember, he got replaced by Danny Elfman, but he's back, and he's also releasing an entire new score for the 4-hour film, a total of 54 tracks. So that's another addition you can expect. Also, some character backstory, dialogue written by Chris Terrio. You can expect that in there as well. Chris Terrio, an Oscar-winning writer who was brought on late to the Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice principal photography, provided some polishing, some rewrites on the initial script. This time he was able to write a whole treatment from scratch, and what Zack Snyder will use will be all Chris Terrio writing dialogue. And lastly, this movie will be presented in a single 4-hour shot with 6 chapter indentations. So those of you concerned about, watching this movie all the way through for 4 hours, you won't have to. This movie, when you pause, there will be indentations for all for the whole cut, 6 chapters, and so that way you'll be able to stop on a certain part. You'll know when to stop, and you can pick up later if you need, or you could be like me and watch the whole thing through and then start it over again. But yeah, one other thing I should mention, actually, the aspect ratio, which I'm sure is going to be a big surprise to people who aren't aware. So usually these movies we're used to seeing movies in widescreen, right? You see the rectangular with the 2 black bars on the top and bottom. What Zack Snyder is doing is presenting Zack Snyder's Justice League in an aspect ratio that is suitable for IMAX screens. So what you're going to see is a 1:3, 3:1 ratio. And what that means is basically you're going to get, instead of this, you're going to get this. And you're going to be able to see the same amount of picture on each side, just widened. And it's going to look weird at first because we're all used to seeing, the wide screen with the black bars. The black bars are going to be on this side right here on each side. Make no mistake, you're getting more picture with this aspect ratio. It will take some time to get used to, but don't automatically rule the movie out, please, just because the movie is presented in a different form. I wish I were seeing this movie in IMAX, so that way I can get the full experience. But nevertheless, I am happy that we're finally getting this movie. I am happy that you are getting to see this movie, even if you weren't a believer, even if you thought, Release the Snyder Cut was silly and just dumb. I hope that you go into this movie with an open mind and that you're able to find some enjoyment out of it. And to all of you out there, like myself, who have just been waiting years for this, It's finally here. Our work is not done, not not even close, but this is a milestone, and I will be joining all of you on March 18th to enjoy taking Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I can't wait to share my thoughts. My name is Gio. Thank you for joining me on this brief trip down to the road that is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Make sure to follow us on Apocaflix Movies. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button. Find us on all social media at Apocaflix Movies. And join us on Tuesdays for Apocaflix Now, our movie hangout show. And we'll definitely be talking some Zack Snyder's Justice League soon. Till then, you guys take care. Enjoy. Avoid spoilers. And I'll catch you guys next time.